Live from our studios in New York City and San Francisco, it's First and Life with your hosts Corey Lucci and Steve Hoyam. We tackle talk with purpose.
And welcome everybody to another. I'm joined with Corey Lucci. How you doing, Corey?
I'm well, William. How about yourself, buddy?
I'm doing well. You know, just watching the fog slowly slip away here in San Francisco. But I have a feeling it's going to be another nice day. You know, it's a great time of year to be in.
I must tell you, it is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Friday in New York City. The sun is out. The birds are chirping. People seem to be happy. Of course, another 2 weeks from now, it'll probably be 50 degrees or 40 degrees. Right. But I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining
getting ready
at all.
For fall. But the upside to fall is
football.
Football. That's right. And we got plenty of football. Some great football coming up this weekend. Some great football news and things going on. There's plenty to talk about today. So today's show, welcome everybody. If you want to call in, ideally call in the first part of the show or the second part of the show because we've got a great guest in between. Anise Kavanaugh is going to be joining us talking about IEP, intentional energetic presence. And there's some awesome things that she has to say about her story and about that program that we're excited to share with you. The number to call in is 714-510-3759. Again, that's 714-510-3759. And, of course, we're on Twitter, Facebook. Check us out. We would love to hear from you any way possible. We definitely rely on our guests to make this show better. And we've had some great call-ins in the past, and so we encourage you, if you're listening live, please call in and just say hi. Any suggestions you guys have on how to make the show more powerful for you, more interesting, whatever, we're all ears, and we're trying to make this thing as good as possible in service to our audience, which is growing, and we're excited about that. So thank you for listening. If this is your first time, we hope that you come back. If this is your second, third, or whatever, welcome back. And Corey and I, what do I sound like?
I'm sorry. I sound like I was in church. Because they ask, sometimes at the church I go to, they ask all visitors to stand, and then after they stand, they say if it's your first time. I'm sorry. Too much information. Sorry, folks. Sorry. As you can see, I'm having fun on this Friday.
That's right. It's fun. It's about football and fun. That's our show right now. And Corey will be passing the plate at the end of this show. So hang in.
Hey, speaking of fun, the Eagles were not having too much fun last night. Kansas City Chiefs went in and rained on that parade. Listen, all I can tell you is I waited all week for this game. I'm thinking, this is gonna play out to be the game of the year, the game of the century. Andy Reid, Kansas City Chiefs going back to Philly. Steve, it was almost as if Philly didn't even show up. And I'm serious. I watched the entire game, and I couldn't say this on the air last week, but I got to be honest with you. I'm a big Andy Reid fan. I've always liked him as a person. He's a guy that's obviously going to do some things with his son. Both of his kids. And as you probably remember, one of his kids ended up unfortunately killing himself last year. In fact, but just a great guy, man. He's what I consider a player's coach, and I may piss some folks off, but Philly fans and as they call them, the Philly fanatics. I think they literally, man, ran a legend out of town. The guy was there for 14 years, technically never really had a losing season, okay, right, with the exception of last year. And they ran him out of town, and they replaced him with, and I'm sorry, call me crazy, but no, they replaced him with what I call the flavor of the month in Chip Kelly. I like Chip Kelly as a coach. I have nothing against him. I don't have a problem singing his praises, but I've said all along, college is college. Pro football is pro football. And, of course, right, William, it gets to a point where it's about lining up, mano on mano, I formation. Whoever can run the ball best wins. Whoever can stop the other person from actually running the ball wins. And, call me crazy, but, look, we've had 3 weeks now to actually see the Eagles, and they put up 30-something points the first week. They put up 30-something points the second week and still lost. And, of course, like we said then, all right, it's their defense. But they couldn't put up any points last night. I don't care how fast of a pace they were going. They looked horrible. And it just really, really showed that, okay, you know what? You can't draw up sandlot plays and try and run them real, real fast and think that you're going to win in the National Football League. And I say this only.
Right. You're absolutely right. This is the National Football League. This isn't the NCAA. And even, that has always been one of Oregon's problems is they have this offense that is tough to prepare for, especially early on in the season. But as the season goes on and, some of those games get a little more competitive physically, then it's a whole different ballgame. And that's exactly why Stanford has had success against Oregon in the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, and by success, I mean Oregon is number 1, number 2 in the nation. Stanford beats them. Doesn't matter if it's at Stanford or if it's at Oregon. Stanford has figured out how to beat Oregon. Even the year, there was, 1 year in between there where Oregon came in and, frankly handed it to Stanford. There was things going on. The thing that I remember from that game was Oregon had the right kind of shoes for the way the field was that night, and Stanford didn't. And Stanford was slipping and sliding around in the rain. But the bottom line is, in the National Football League, if you're going to live by something like a no-huddle, spread out sandlot offense, you got to have a backup plan when that doesn't work. Because eventually you're going to run into a defense coordinator, and this time on Andy Reid's staff, and they said, let's give this a shot. This is what works. This is it, and they go after it. And the game is really about adjusting. You can't. You're not going to face the same team twice, and if you do, it's up to you to make the changes that you need to make. That's why you see 2 different games at halftime sometimes. It's about who can make the adjustment, win the game.
Well, and even to take it one step further, Hoyam. I mean, again, I don't know if you watched the game, but the Chiefs played classic Andy Reid football. Grind, don't turn it over, and then in the third quarter, hand the ball off and just let your running back ram out. And I mean, I'm talking several times, man. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, okay, this is Andy Reid, the same offense, that they ran him out of Philly. Literally ran him out. Now, look, if you were just tired of the man because it was 14 years, got that. No problem. But I still say be careful what you ask for. I lied. We can go down the list. Dallas, Detroit, Buffalo. All the teams that were pretty daggone good back in our day now sort of suck. So, my thing is, all right, Reid was there, sort of been there, done it, through the good and the bad, and they still ran him out, man. So, I don't know. Call me crazy. I just had to get it off my chest today. So what else is in the news? We can move on.
Exactly. So, and I think this is a perfect segue into the next one, but, just to reinforce, I have to acknowledge the fact that this is what you have been saying since day one, and finally Chip Kelly gets welcomed into the NFL like we knew it was going to happen eventually. Now, the one thing I will say about that Chip Kelly offense and about a no-huddle offense in general, because that's what we came from in Buffalo running the K-gun, it's a powerful thing, when the offense is not in a hurry-up mode. That's why sometimes in the 2-minute drill you see an offense just move all the way down the field, right? It works. And if the offense can do that in a controlled, sustained fashion, they don't have to. It's taking the same time, but, it occurs to me, and I was watching this happen in some of the college games this last weekend. I was at the Cal-Ohio State game, and it makes perfect sense when you look at the way Cal runs their offense. You don't make the offensive linemen do all the running back and forth from the huddle. That's just stupid. Have the offensive linemen stay there and look at who's lining up where, and, the blocking schemes don't have to be that complicated. They don't have to know where the receivers are running and all this other stuff. Just tell them, okay, this is our protection until I, change it. This is what we're doing until I change it. And the offensive line start calling the plays themselves. Just stand up there at the line. And what that does, right, is it makes the defense not be able to huddle. It makes the defense have to, stand there. And it's tough as a defensive lineman, just stand there and not know when the ball's going to be snapped or when the guys are going to line up, because you're huffing and puffing. And if you can kind of keep that tempo, you're going to wear down the defense real quick. Now, the solution to that, and Andy Reid, did beautifully, is on the offensive side, you control the ball, you take your time, you're methodical and diligent about your possession. Each and every possession is critical, but by far and away, the number one thing that you're doing is keeping your defense off the field. And when they come in and the defense is rested, they can go after that no-huddle spread,
right.
Sandlot attack, because these guys are professional athletes. They're not college.
Well, I think even to dig a little bit deeper into this, I guess. You think about it. All right, so we had the K gun, and I thought it was a pretty fast-paced offense. But Steve, Michael Vick had already ran roughly 96 plays last night from week 1 before he threw his first pick, which I thought was a great stat. But guess what? You and I both know Vick love Michael Vick. So please hear me, folks. Love him. I'm not here to be putting him down. But this Vick is not the same Vick that was playing for the Falcons. He's never been just a pure pocket passer anyway. All right, accurate anyway. So to even think that you can have him throw the ball 60, 70 times and he's not gonna throw a pick, you got to be crazy. Now going back to what you was talking about as far as catching the defense off guard. I don't know about you. Maybe I wasn't smart enough, but I know when we ran the K gun, I didn't listen to the X, Y, Z. I mean, you know how Jim would like call a play, easy 5, 67 go, whatever. I listened for the number, and I knew if it started with the 3, if it started with the 5, if it started with the 7, that it was a pass. And if it was a 3, it was going to be what? 3-step drop. If it was a 5, it was going to be what? 5-step drop. If it was a 7, you better hold on, because he needs, at least a good 3.5 to 4.5 seconds so he can get that ball out. Otherwise, I didn't really care about all the other thing. I used to listen for 2 things. It was whether it was a 3, 5, or 7-step drop, and of course the cadence. Whether it was on easy, first sound, ready go, hut 2, hut quote unquote 1, and of course Jim, he liked to run everything pretty much so on either sound or either 1. I think looking back on it now, which is kind of crazy because it's been 20 years later, I can still think about him changing plays with that easy and orange always being that live color. So you knew whatever you heard after orange, it was either going to be a run or pass, and most likely if he changed it, it was going to be that quick 3-step drop.
Right. You're absolutely right. And again, the Bills, they had the personnel to run the K gun. We're still finding out if Philly has the personnel to run Chip Kelly's offense, and it looks like Andy Reid has found a quarterback that works for him.
Alex Smith. Hey, guess what? Kudos to Alex. I mean, I
absolutely.
Call me crazy. I love to see guys do well, and the fact that San Francisco, who I'm still taking to go to the Super Bowl, even though Seattle kind of roughed them up last week. San Fran sort of ran Alex Smith out of town. It was like, you know what? We have Colin. We don't really want your services, and he happened to find a home with the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's all working out. And God knows if any team needed a break, Kansas City Chiefs needed a break. So
that's right.
Kudos to them, 3-0.
And you hit the nail on the head. This is how it should work. You've got San Francisco, the fans, everyone's happy. Kansas City, they should be happier because they've got a good coach, they've got a good quarterback, they've got a team that is 3-0. So
hey, it's week 3 and they've already won more games than they won last year. I'm sorry. I had to put that one out there.
We got a bunch more to talk about. Let's just take a quick pause here, and then we're going to be back with Anise Kavanaugh and talking about intentional energetic presence, IEP, which is really kind of a cool thing. So let's do this real quick. We'll take a quick break and come back in about 5 seconds with Anise Kavanaugh.
You're listening to First and Life on Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to our show today, Anise Kavanaugh. Hey, Anise.
Hey, Steve. Hey, Corey.
How are you doing? How's it going?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. Thanks for joining us today, Anise. And, we are excited to talk about what you've got going on. And, as a personal friend, I'm always excited to have someone from my past who knows me and knows about my journey and transition, and had a chance to meet Corey at my wedding and got to hear his story, too. So now Corey and I get to listen to where you're at, and you got a number of new things going on with your business. So I just want to jump right into it and ask you, what is the IP method?
Before we even do that, I just want to just reinstate. I know it's earlier, but I have to just tell you guys, so much fun to see you doing this together. I'm flashing back your wedding, Steve. I'm just having this moment where I'm flashing back. I remember standing with you guys with all the good stuff behind you, and just having this moment of remembering the connection that the two of you have, and how much fun it is for me to now actually be on the show talking about this with you. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Special. Thank you.
It's fun. I mean, it's really, I mean, Steve, you and I go back, what, 15 years? I mean, think about it, like, really, 15 years.
At least 1996.
Steve, you were in our wedding. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm just having this little, it's probably not the perfect time to do it right in the middle of the interview, but I'm just having this moment of memory lane real quick. So, all right, I'm here.
And speaking of weddings, you just had an anniversary, so, and I totally blanked on that. Happy anniversary.
We did. Oh, thank you. Yes, we did, and I'm in New York, so my beloved is doing what you get to do sometimes, which is being with the kids for 10 days, and I'm going to have to give them a super, super good anniversary when I get back, so it's all good. Got some sustaining. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
So IEP, the IEP method, this is it's a methodology that I've created over the years, and it basically, IEP stands for Intentional Energetic Presence, and your energetic presence is basically, it's how we show up, so they've done studies, and they've shown that, only 93% of our impact is in the, only 7% of our impact is in the words we say, and actually the other 93% has to do with literally our body language, our tone of voice, the intention behind the words we're saying, the energy we're bringing to the table. Like, that's actually where the most impact takes place, is what's actually underneath the words. So with the IEP method, I've been working with people for years. I mean, before I went out on my own about 11 years ago, and before that, I actually worked with athletes. I think you remember that, Steve. My background was in kinesiology, and I would work with some of you guys in the training room, and had this evolution of doing all this work. And the common factor that I found in my work with people was the thing around intentional energetic presence, and how they showed up in their lives, and the intention they brought to their lives, and the energy that they brought to interact with people. That was the commonality of what, how that had a huge impact on how well their lives went, how well their companies were built, how happy they were. There were all these key components, and I just kept honing it down over the last, I'd say really intensely the last 5-6 years, and finally realized there's actually a method to creating intentional energetic presence.
Okay.
That's what the IEP method is.
I love that. The fact that it's something that has evolved. You just made me think of something. I'll just ask you this, and we go whatever way. Power versus Force. Are you familiar with that book?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I
all right.
Book. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sure. I know the author, David Hawkins. Is a medical doctor and also a theologist. And, he's written a number of books, but this one, it's about energy and about truth and spirituality, and it seems like it definitely relates to IEP and what you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, I think about the thing that I appreciate about the IEP is we all have it, right? And I love that you just said power versus force, but I actually have not thought about it that way. But it makes a ton of sense, because you're present, that is where your power lives, it makes a difference. Like, we all know those people in our lives who they've got amazing presence, and we just get around them, and all of a sudden we feel better. We want to, we become more creative. We actually become smarter around these people. Like, it is a contagious effect of what presence they're bringing. And to me, from a leadership standpoint, that's where the power is. It's being able to be a leader because you're inspiring and your presence is just so compelling, versus being a leader by force or by title. So it's pretty fun.
Okay. Well, it's starting to all make sense to me now. That is so cool. So it's culmination of your life's work, and now here you are. You're writing books. You're delivering a program, Fortune 500 companies, and traveling between New York, San Francisco, and Sacramento. That's amazing. And just so everyone knows, Anise has been inspirational to me in choosing my journey, getting me to the point where I'm at today, and then becoming a coach was in large part due to Anise, and she recommended a coaching program that I later attended. That coaching program was responsible for helping me reunite with Corey, so it's kind of an amazing little circle that we've got going here, and then also with our wedding last year. So here we are again.
I know.
All right, Corey, your turn to ask a question. So, Anise, tell us about some of the kind of work that you're actually doing with people or your clients, excuse me.
Yeah. So the kind of work. So let's see, lots of different ways of doing it. So there's different programs, you guys. Like, there's literally, in October we're doing a 2-day program that basically teaches people how to integrate, IEP into their lives more purposely. And then the first day we're working with them as individual leaders, because I'll just finish that. So the first day is individual, and then the second day we're actually really taking how that actually works their teams and in their cultures. Because what tends to happen is a lot of the people that come to me for help is they call and they'll say, oh wow, I really need help with communication, or my company, we need to set a better strategy, or we need to work on our vision, or we need to work on feedback, or they have all these different skills that they want to work on, or these things, these what I think of as doing things that need to be taken care of. And while these are all super, super important and they definitely need attention, what I find is that if we can actually focus on the being side of it and actually focus on their energy and the intention that they're bringing to all those things that they do, like if I can teach them to do that, then any skill, any leadership skill, any, board meeting, anything is going to be that much more powerful because you have everybody bringing intentional, energetic presence to it.
Right.
So the way that I work with people is, sometimes I'll literally take them, some of my favorite work to do with the private clients is literally to take them out of the mountains and go hiking for a couple of days and to really get them in their bodies and get them thinking about what's the impact they're trying to create in the world and how do they want to show up with their team. And in order to create the mission, in order to create the impact they want to create with their lives, they have to bring a certain energy to it. They have to bring a certain presence to it. And so a lot of that work can be done, literally, you guys know you're super physical. A lot of that work happens in your body. So we, work with people like that. I'll work with them. I'm actually in New York this week. I'm going to do a couple of launches. So we're taking a couple of groups for a company, and I think it looks like we're going to put about 80 people through it. And they'll just do, like a half-day IEP launch where they get this work into their body and they start to see how the way that they're showing up in the company and how they show up on the team. They'll start to see how that actually is what's creating the result and how that's actually creating the culture. So there's lots of different ways to address it.
That's great. And I want to talk too about what your path been, get where you've been, touch on a lot of things, but talk about where you started and what really triggered, what the steps were to get to where you're at today.
Okay, cool. So I started my first career was in kinesiology. So it was working literally. I remember working in the training rooms. I had to do internships in the training rooms with people like you guys, and which was so much fun. But you guys are huge. I used to work with you guys, help you in between. I would intern in the training rooms and help you guys take care of yourselves and wrap your ankles and do all that fun stuff that goes with the training room. And one of the things that I noticed when I was working with athletes is that, and I'm almost embarrassed to say this, especially with you guys, but this is true. So I realized I didn't really care if they won the game. What I really cared about was that they took great care of themselves and they felt amazing. That was what I wanted. I wanted them to just feel amazing because I knew that if I could support them in that they would then go out, they play as a really great team, and then they'd win the game. So I knew if we could get them taking care of themselves and feeling good individually, then that would serve the team, and then that would ultimately serve the game. So the game was never my primary motivation, right?
Right.
And I always thought that was kind of interesting. Steve, I'm married to one of your closest friends. And I still don't totally always understand football, right? I should really have a better grip on that by now, but that was always my primary motivation was, are the players happy? Because I know if they're happy, then we'll win the game. And so then I went and I started working in corporate America, and I ran, their health promotion, some of the preventative health programs for a really large Fortune 500. And I started to realize that all the work that I was doing with them, of course I cared about the business results. Absolutely. They're super important, and the business has to be, financially healthy and all that. But what I really cared about was that the people were taking great care of themselves, that they felt amazing, and that they worked well with their teams. And I knew that if I could get them to do that, then the company would do well. We'd hit our results. So I started to notice the pattern. And then I had Jake, who you totally know, my little now 13-year-old, by the way, as of last week, and a little teenager. And I had Jake, and I decided that I was never going to work again. I was done. I was like, I'm never working. I'm just going to eat peanut butter and jelly, and I'll just be home. And that lasted for about a year, and I really missed my work. So, long story short, I went back and I started to look at all the things I had done, in corporate, working with the athletes. I did a couple of years where I actually led a fitness retreat, and I basically created a job, JOB, that would be something that would feel so good to me. If I could, what would be valuable enough to me to be doing with my life that would warrant me being away from my children. And I created my company out of this job description. And then I realized there was a whole, not just a job out of it, there was an entire company that could actually really start to leverage myself with other people that love this kind of work. And I tried to take all the kinesiology out because, when I got my credential, I went to the same school that you did, Steve. I went and I got my coaching credential, and then I got another coaching credential, and then I went and I got a leadership credential, and I tried to take the kinesiology out of it. So I kind of had the attitude that, that's from my past. I don't need to, I'm not going to do that anymore. That's what I used to do. And for doing it, because I realized that the business leaders that I was working with, they really needed that element, the physicality. They needed the element around self-care and how they manage their energy and how they use their body to have better presence. And so I reintegrated it. And in 2007, started to build my own leadership model, which now it's the IEP model. And it just kind of evolved from there.
That's amazing. So here's something that was part of your past and who you were now is coming back in and it's starting to make
make perfect sense. So
it is, yeah. And it came back in with like a vengeance, right? So I really tried. I don't know if you guys have ever done that where you're like, oh, that's my old career. But I really felt like, oh, I quote unquote air quotes, mastered this. I don't need to do this anymore. Now I'm going to be a professional coach, and I'm going to work with businesses, and now I'm going to be a teacher. And now I just kept, every time I would change or grow into a new role, step into I call it the talk body, like I know it sounds really morbid, but like the bigger version of yourself. Every time I would step into a bigger version of this work, I'd try and leave something behind. And what I found was that was totally silly, because all those things that I was trying to leave behind were actually what were making me really good and intuitive about what needed to happen to be most helpful to people. So that's why I created that model, because I was like, I need to pull all of it together and pull the best pieces, and that's now what we got in the IET model.
Yeah, and it's certainly not a constructive use of your energy to spend time regretting the past. I mean, that seems like an energy drain, right?
No, yeah, no,
to take your path and actually incorporate that into who you're being today in a powerful way is really, to me, that is the awesome part of your story. And the IET method sounds like a perfect way to just be able to share the tools, that wisdom with a mass audience like you're doing. Amazing.
Yeah, it's been super rich. It's been really, really rich. It's one of those things where you look back at like those pivotal moments, and I know you guys and I have talked, like you guys had like lots of these discussions and these moments in your life where you've got to decide what you're going to do, what the next thing is. And one of the things that helped guide me through that is noticing what I'm trying to leave behind, and then going, okay, wait, why would I leave that behind? And a lot of times it's not that I want to leave it behind, it's actually that there's a better version of it. There's some key learning that I want to pull from whatever I'm trying to leave behind, so that I can put it into the future and have it serve the future. And the thing that's been the anchor point for me is looking at, ultimately, at the end of the day, when I'm off the planet, what's the impact that I want to have left? Like, what is it that I want people to have? If something happened to me tomorrow, what do I want to make sure I leave on this planet for my kids, for your guys, for your kids, for all of us, so that our world continues to, go, be great. So that's kind of my guiding light is what's the impact I'm trying to create. And the more intention I can put behind that, then the easier it is to really create that impact. And then the IEP is the stuff that actually help make that all possible. Because if you and I were talking before we started recording, got my kids, and my oldest one just turned 13, and that's totally fun, and the other one's 8, and it's a very, very full life, and got this business that I absolutely love, and this work that I adore, and I never think about it as being busy or like, oh my gosh, there's too much stuff going on. I try and stay in front of it with just thinking about it as feeling really, really full, and just appreciating the richness of it, and the IEP, like having intention around that and really taking care of myself, that is what makes it possible.
Right, and then also the presence, right? You're not only leaving your legacy, but you're living your legacy.
Oh, I love that.
We talk about that in Person Life and on our program as often as we can. What we're all about legacy, which includes your past and certainly your present. But where you go with that, the choice is really up to you as far as being present, intentional, energetic, powerful, all those things. And to bring that all in and service of others, what you're doing, is an amazing thing.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah. I'm blown away.
Think about for all of us. Like, think about for all of us and the people listening. Like, think about this is like this. I think about this. This is like a superpower that we all have. Like, we all have this superpower to be able to be super intentional about how we're showing up in our lives. Like, we have the superpower to be super intentional about the energy that we bring to our relationship and to the things that we're trying to create. Like, literally, I get to determine. I can't control how the world responds to me, but I definitely get to determine and influence how I show up in the world in a way that's either going to help me get a better response or not. And it's not always going to work. And that's a whole other conversation. But I do feel like it's these superpowers that we all have. Like, we get to choose.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there is a choice to be made each and every day. A lot of people they fail to see the choices that they are making, let alone all the choices that are being made around them. Like, what are we saying yes? What are we saying no? Yeah. Almost every point in time we're making a decision, and that's either a missed opportunity or an opportunity that has changed lives. So
for sure.
Showing up intentionally and being present, the kind of energy you're talking about, I totally see why this works and why it's a powerful program for some people. And so
thank
that's
you.
great.
Yeah, thank you, Corey. Corey, you're so quiet.
No, I'm just literally taking it in. Trust me, this is like fascinating, and it's not every day that I am quiet. Believe me.
Yeah, Anish, you've done something that no other person has ever done. Is lead Corey speak.
You're absolutely right about that, Steve.
Is that a good thing?
That's a great.
No. That's a very good thing. I'm a deep thinker, so I could honestly sit and listen to you for hours. Honestly,
I'm feeling you, cool. Corey. I'm feeling the wheels turning on you. Like, I can literally feel it. It's so funny.
Honestly, I was sitting there thinking, all right, how can I get to San Francisco for this October session?
Oh my gosh! Get out to San Francisco.
I'm serious.
I'd love to have you. So And here's what's so fun, you guys. This is contagious, right? So I had a friend, a colleague of mine. We had a call a couple weeks ago, and he was getting ready to go into a big business meeting, and he also had a date that night. And so we had this conversation. We're talking IEP stuff. We're talking about some of the stuff that's happening for him in there's different quadrants that make up IEP, like the whole model. We're just basically working with him around some of the quadrants on the model. So we had this really gorgeous conversation, and he's present. He's energetic, like he's feeling good. He gets off the phone, and apparently he goes into his meeting and he rocks his meeting, like just rocks it. And here's the thing: is that the agenda didn't change. The only thing that changed was him and how he showed up in it, right? So rocks the meeting. Then he goes on his date, rocks the date. Then I guess he goes to dinner the next night with some of the people at the meeting, and they're saying, "What was happening for you yesterday? Like it was like you were there. Like it felt like you were on. Like it felt so good." And here's what I love about the story, and this is why I'm just listening to you, like Corey, as you're processing. He started to tell them about IEP, and he said, just think about your presence, like how you're sitting right now, and how you're thinking about things, and like how present you are in the conversation. And he said, he calls me up the next day and he goes, "Oh my gosh, Denise, within 3 minutes, that whole table had shifted their presence. Like the quality of the listening, the way that they were sitting, their facial expressions, like the richness of that conversation. He said it was so contagious just by the way that I was showing up, and then even me just mentioning it, all of a sudden had people start to go, wait a second, how am I showing up in my life, and how I'm sitting, like even at this dinner table right now, how am I, like what's the impact I'm having?" And that's why I was saying earlier, before we started the recording, it's like once you learn this stuff, you can't unlearn it. Like it's yours. So get out to San Francisco, Corey. That's a long, long way of saying this impacts everything. And you're so big. Here's the thing. I have an addenda for you too. You're such a big guy that I want people like you on the planet doing this more, because you're super contagious. People feel it.
Oh boy, I tell you what. You know what? You okay? All right. I am there. I will be in.
Okay, well, that was one of my questions that, I want. So tell us more about this event, the one in San Francisco, or I know you've got a number of events going on in the near future, but let's talk about San Francisco first. When is it? Yeah. Where is it? How do we find out about it?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, Corey, I'm going to hold you that. I'm writing your name down right now. Corey, all right. I got a specialty for you.
I need to know when Corey's coming over to.
That's right. We'll get you both there. Both of you will be there. That's awesome. Okay. So it's in San Francisco. It's at a very, very, very special, awesome venue. It's a San Francisco, landscape, not landscape, but landmark. San Francisco It's huge. It's a beautiful venue. It is on the 15th and the 16th of October, which is the Tuesday and a Wednesday. It's a full 2-day event, the full days. We've got the first day is devoted completely to personal IEP. So literally working with everyone in the room around what their own intentional energetic presence is and how do they nurture that and make it even stronger. So we're doing the first day is wholly devoted to individuals, and then the second day we're actually going to have them start looking at how IEP is showing up in their relationship, in their teams, and even in their cultures, even with their business cultures. Because the thing that happens with culture is, and I'm sure you guys have heard this before, people talk all the time about, well, I work in the culture, or the culture of my company is like this, or they think of it as an external thing, but what's actually true is that we emanate the culture that we're in. So the way that we show up, that has a huge impact on that culture. So businesses, the organizations as a whole, they have an IEP about them. Teams have an energy about them. And so that second day, we're going to be really diving into, okay, now you guys have got your personal IEP handled, and you're going to be working on that, for the rest of your life. Now, how do you actually tie this into your team and your cultural IEP? And I think I'm super excited about that, because I think it's going to be incredibly powerful. This is the first time, actually, in 4 years that I've had the time and the bandwidth to open this up to the public, because normally, I'm doing like what I'm doing this week, where I'm in I'm in New York this week, and in the beginning of October I'll be in Chicago. So I'm usually not able to open things up like this, but I've expanded my team, as we were talking about, and so now my team is being completely rock stars for me and basically setting it up. So we just have to, I just get to go, and I don't have to do all the crazy stuff that goes behind setting up these events. So it's opening up my availability, which is great. And what else can I tell you about that? It's it's gonna be great. We've got a really fun sponsor. We've got a really fun sponsor, which I can't actually say yet because we haven't signed off on it, but we've got a verbal okay for fun sponsorship for something that's going to be delicious and make the event even better. And then we have a really cool speaker coming in the second day. So
cool.
some good stuff. It's a month, or let's see, it's the 15th. So we've got about 4 weeks until
about
the
a
event.
month. Right at a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we go to AniseCavanaugh.com.
Oh yeah, good question. Thank you for checking. You go to IEPmethod.com.
Okay.
You can go to Anise Cavanaugh too. You can go to either. Anise Cavanaugh is more of like, it's our deeper site that goes into more about me, our business, like what we do. But the IEP Method, we've got an actual microsite devoted just to that body of work. And IEPmethod.com, and the actual event for San Francisco is on IEP-method.com/IEP-intensive-event.
Okay.
And people can learn all about it there. The other thing that people can do, and this is, whether they're coming to the event or not, or they just want to learn more about IEP, like I'm dead serious about getting this work out into the world. I think huge implications on our kids, on schools, like how we teach. It has huge implications on design and collaboration.
Right.
Even like our health, how we're taking care of ourselves, the unemployment rate. Like, so I'm super serious about getting this out. And so for people, even if they're not coming to the event, which I really hope if this speaks to them, they'll come, because I don't know when I'll do another one like this, and that's just the truth. But they can actually download a free toolkit from that site, and they can download a free start guide. So there's a lot of resources that they can totally tap into without even knowing me that will give them good stuff.
Super.
But the live events are the best, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think anyone interested in going to the live event should probably go in and play around with the tools that you have available and just get familiar with it. So when they show up, they'll have some curiosity, and that will feed them on the way to learning more about IE and learning how to show up with impact wherever they're needing to show up.
I know, right? Superpowers. It really is superpowers, right, Corey?
Yes, very, very much so.
I like that, that picture, of having superpowers, because we talk about hero's journey, and Anish, you've certainly been on your own hero's journey from, going through, the jobs that gone through, the career path and the family and all the other aspects of your life to become who you are today. And I see everything, what's really cool from my perspective is I can see you having done all the things that you've done in the order that you've done them, and it brought you to where you're at right here, right now. And, it's just really amazing to see that. And not only is that heroic, but now we're talking about superpowers. And I just have to say, that's an awesome combination to have, to be able to be your own hero, to be a hero and have these superpowers and learn how to tap into that in addition to just going on the journey. And the technology, the training that you're offering people really it is going to create an impact. I tell already just from listening to you and knowing what I know about corporate America. When we get people, the employees and the people working in the companies show up with their own energy and presence, that, good things are going to happen. Cultures will change in these companies that will probably become much more sensitive to the needs of this world, the environment, the people, everything else, and shift away from the old the corporate model of exploitation, greed, and everything else that has kind of left us all in the position we have today. So that's where it's got to start, at the grassroots. So I'm applauding every company, every individual that will actually sign up and benefit in your training.
Oh, thanks, Steve. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Anise.
Thank you very much. So much. This has been so enlightening, and I'm looking forward to October the 15th.
Oh, my gosh. Can't wait. That'll be great.
Is there anything else that you'd like our listeners to know before we wrap up and say goodbye?
Yeah, I just think I'd want to leave everyone with this. I mean, I know it can sound really like airy to say, oh, everybody has this in them, but it's really true. I mean, this is work that I've been doing, really intensively since 2007, 2008. Like, this has been my focus in the business, has been to really get this kind of work integrated into people, whether it was individually or in big groups or whatever. And every single time I start with somebody, there are the people that are early adopters and go, yeah, I totally get it, let's go do it. And then there are the people that are more, they kind of question it and, I don't know, it sounds kind of California, energetic cousin. But what I will say is that every single person, I've never had somebody say, wow, I really don't have IED. Like, I really, like, we have this in us. It's literally something that's just untapped. And the minute we make that decision to actually really intentionally show up in our lives and really start to look at how we're contributing to the quality of our lives, the quality of our leadership, the quality of our relationships, like the minute we decide to take responsibility for that and then shift it and be really intentional about it, that's when things open up so beautifully. And I guess I just want to leave everyone with that. It's like, we've got these superpowers. You don't have to, everybody goes through their hero's journey in one, in whatever, one shape, way, or form or another. And we all have these superpowers. They're just sometimes a little bit more innate than others. And this is something we can call out with literally a decision. So I get pretty excited about it. The decision.
That is so amazing.
Well,
thank you, Anise.
I'm excited just from sitting here and listening to you. I may come down to Soho too. Oh God.
Come down. I'm here.
Jeez,
I would love to come with you.
You should.
It'd be great. It'd be great.
Well, I'm gonna jump off, Gus. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, here we are, and what an amazing interview. Anise was awesome. Had so much to say. We could have kept her on for another hour at least, right, Corey?
Yeah, certainly.
So, hey, we're going to come right back and talk a little bit, just wrap up our show today in the final 15 minutes or so, and just wrap up our discussion about college football or professional. We were talking about the NFL. Move into maybe some college and NFL NFL games coming up this weekend and which games we're going to be watching and who we're going to be expecting to win. So we'll be back in about 3 seconds.
You're listening to First and Life on Blog Talk Radio.
And yes, you are. Please, if you got some time, you're listening live, you got a phone handy, 714-510-3759. Again, 714-510-3759. Let us hear from you. If you have any questions, if you want to ask anything about IEP, NFL, NCAA, we'll do our best to get you the answers that you are seeking. So, hey, Corey, one of the things we were talking about personnel and how coaches and personnel are starting to click, and in some places maybe not clicking so well, like in Philly right now. But interesting move by the Indianapolis Colts, getting a running back added to their stable. So why don't you extol on that for a little bit?
I'll tell you, man, I was really, really shocked because the Colts essentially gave up a first-round pick for Trent Richardson, who was the number 3 overall pick, right behind Andrew Luck and RG3 in the draft class from 2 years ago. And the Browns essentially, I don't want to say they gave up on him, but they felt like they needed to take their team in a different direction. And listen, there have been a lot of people talking about this. Now, obviously, Mike Holmgren used to be the president, GM, head coach, and everything else there, and he flat out said that if he was still in charge of the team, that there's no way he would part ways with Trent. But now Joe Banner, I think is his name, is the one that's essentially running the team, or at least he reports to the owner, and him and the coach were on page, Steve. So I personally think that it's a win-win for the Colts, because if you think about it, the Colts have essentially just created what they had in Peyton Manning and that kid, what was his name, Edgerrin James.
James, yeah.
They had a quarterback and they had a running back that essentially carried that team for at least 10 years. So great moves, kudos for the Colts, and I hope everything works out for Trent and Andrew and their coach is named Chuck Pagano. So who knows, man? Who knows?
They are making some moves, and I like it. They are serious about having success at Indy, and so the fans there have to be happy about things. So here we've got fans in San Francisco, Kansas City, Indianapolis. I think the excitement is building. We know about Seattle. Folks in Philly are probably scratching their heads right now. The Jets are the Jets, I'm just hoping that the folks in Buffalo, the great fans in Buffalo, New York, start seeing some dividends paid back for what they had.
Hey, listen, they squeaked out a win last week.
I know. If you look at their matchup, they got a marquee matchup for the AFC East going against the Jets, right? And
well, I don't know about marquee, but it's definitely a matchup. It's definitely a matchup.
I am watching that game. For me, it's going to be defining for the Buffalo franchise for at least this year. How are they going to show up? What is their IEP level going to be when they show up in New York City? Or actually,
well, I will say this. A little bit of a tidbit here. One of our former teammates, Mike Devlin, is the offensive line coach now for the Jets.
Yep. So the Bills better not resurrect anything from their playbook from about 15 years ago, because Mike's going to be all over it.
Oh boy.
Devlin he's an amazing offensive line coach, no question. And I think that the Jets, he's not the problem with the Jets right now. Clearly, their problems run a lot deeper. But I think that they're gonna, who knows what happens with the Jets. I'm pulling for the Bills. Let's say I think the Bills have a good chance to go into New Jersey and beat the Jets. What do you think about that?
I agree.
Okay.
Listen. I agree. That's all I'm gonna say.
Right. So that to me, perfect scenario. The Bills are the underdog, and they're going there to one of their. The Jets are a rival to the Bills. I would say the Jets and Miami are at the top of that list. So this is a big game for the Bills, and if they can pull this one out on the road, it's going to go a long way to the direction of that franchise. The other game that I'm really looking forward to this weekend is when Indy comes over to San Francisco. Little homecoming for Andrew Luck, going to face his college coach and Jim Harbaugh. It'll be, I'm sure, a lot of hugs, at the end of the game.
Oh, no, trust me. Will be, no. Correction. I've already seen 3 interviews between Harbaugh and Luck, and dude, it's as if they're like kissing. It's as if they're like making out. I'm like, okay, enough already. We know Harbaugh loves Andrew Luck, and we know Luck like Harbaugh. Harbaugh even went so much as to say one of the reasons he drafted Colin Kaepernick was because he reminded him a lot of Andrew Luck. I was like, oh my gosh.
Don't you see the resemblance? It must be the
Swan song, all right? Play the game already. He's not in college anymore. Now you got to get ready for him. And, of course, you know, Harbaugh's going to send the dogs out of him.
Yeah, that's right. You know, that's the way the game is played, right? You know, it's all that love and, you know, talking up your opponent, you know, kind of the Lou Holtz style of build them up, just go after.
Poor man's football. Oh, we're just glad to be out here on the Flame football field with them, fellas, and we'll see what happens next week. Lou Holtz, that is.
That's right. So, speaking of college football, you know, there's a lot going on there. The one thing that's popping out to me is Bo Pelini. Man, that's got to be tough.
Oh, just shut up already, right? Dude, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, okay, even if it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, how dumb can you be?
That's right.
This coach is making, what, $3 million a year? I mean, he's got, I would think he has one of the definitely top, 15 jobs in the country, top 20 jobs in the country. Now, stressful, yes, because he's essentially taken over for a legend, and I've always said, and I said all along, whoever take over for Tom Osborne will, without winning a national championship, dude, you're never going to be good enough. Trust me. Ask every coach that has tried to fill Danny Ford's shoes down at Clemson. You know, I don't care who it is. Listen, folks have their minds made up. You know, they like a certain coach, they like a certain style, Steve, and it doesn't matter. You know, short of winning a national championship, the fans are not going to like you, or excuse me, quote unquote, love you. But dude, did you hear some of the things he said?
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean,
he needs to go to church. He needs to go get his mouth washed out with the bar soap. I was like, and honestly, I'm surprised he still has a job.
Yeah, no, I mean, and now
I thought he would have already been fired.
Who is on the biggest hot seat right now in college football, Bo Pelini or our good friend at the University of Southern California? Which one of those
Lane
guys?
Kiffin? No,
right.
Actually, Steve, you know what? You got to throw one more in there because there are rumors spreading. Texas is trying to get rid of Mac Brown. Somebody had a secret meeting that someone from the like board of like regions or something had a secret meeting with Nick Saban's agent like back in January. Dude, you can't make this stuff up. I'm like, holy fuck, Mac Brown won a national championship for you 5 years ago, and it's like, oh, get rid of him. Mind you, Texas, believe it or not, unlike most schools, graduate their athletes. Like, folks, come on already. Shouldn't there be something said for a coach that brings kids in? They actually stay there for 4 years, with the exception of Vince Young, but they actually stay there for 4 years. They graduate on time, okay? You know, they go out to lead, somewhat of what we would call a productive life, but no, now it's what? Wins and losses. You won a national championship 5 years ago. Get over yourself already. It's just like the Eagles fan.
Yeah, and here's the problem, right? You know, in college, you know, when you're spending the kind of money Texas spends on football, Texas and Alabama, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I would be shocked if between Texas and Alabama that those aren't the top money spenders for college football, bar none.
Steve, I would go so far as to say that Texas probably spends more money than Alabama.
No,
there's been a running joke. Someone made a comment and said, "Oh well, Saban probably won't want to go down to Texas because they don't have a statue." Someone goes, "Oh really? They got enough money in Texas? They could put statues of Saban up around the entire stadium." And it's the truth.
And you know what? No, I think Nick Saban is a hell of a football coach, but you're right. Texas can throw the kind of cash and might have what it takes to lure a Nick Saban into that Texas situation. situation, turn that thing around, and that would, obviously solidify him as, the awesome college coach that he is. But he's running out of things to do at Alabama, and it might be time for Nick Saban.
So that's why. So that's the big question mark now. Well, will Saban leave? Look, personally, Saban's at a point where he could easily probably ask them for $8 million a year, and they would probably pay it. Hell, I think he's at $6 now, and that's not including his shoe deal and his television deal. So he's probably bringing home $8. He could probably ask them for $10 million a year, guaranteed money, and get this with a lifetime guarantee. So $10 million a year, and he coaches as long as he wants to coach. But I don't know about you. I haven't won a lotto lately, ever, honestly. If I had that kind of offer, guess what? I'm shutting up. I'm staying where I'm at. I'm telling my wife, go pick out the biggest house and the best house you want, because we are officially staying in the state of Alabama. Now, that being said, Nick Saban he doesn't need money. Let's be honest about it. He's probably made, over the last 20 years, he's probably made $100 million over the last 20 years. So he doesn't need money.
Right.
So he's not doing it, folks, for money. He's truly doing it because he loves that challenge. But Steve, I don't think he wants to go to Texas, man. They have that. They've got the Longhorn Network.
Yeah.
Texas has their own television network.
We've just got a minute and a half here, and so I'll just real quick. My prediction: Alabama. Whether they win the national championship or not, they will have to work overtime to keep Nick Saban from jumping ship over to Texas, because Mac Brown is going to be gone before the season's over. That's my prediction. Bo Pelini, he's done at Nebraska.
He's gone
at USC. And, my games of the week this week, I'm going to be watching for the Texas-Kansas State score, because I'm thinking Kansas State is going to go after Texas, and that's going to determine that if Texas loses this game, Mac Brown may not be around the next week. Stanford versus ASU, it's like that is one of the bigger college games this week. We've got a Pac-12.
That is the biggest college game this week.
It is, and I will be there. Stanford hasn't had to play the Sun Devils in a couple of years, and so there's going to be a new matchup again. It's been a while since they faced each other. The personnel's changed, the coaches are different, but there's going to be it's going to be a hatchet fight, like my coach Dennis would say. So what's your call, Corey? What are you looking out for?
Stanford all the way, buddy. Stanford all the way.
I love it. All right, man. There's just more to say.
Have a great weekend.
All right. Talk to you later.
Thank you for listening to another episode of First in Life. Please visit our website at www.firstinlife.com and join us live every Friday as we tackle talk with purpose.